what's up you guys, this is Rob from The Gay Guy Plays, and today on the hit list, we're taking a look at my top 5 Warframe wins of 2018. Now, as many of you guys know, I usually like to wrap up the year with my favorite primaries, secondaries, and Warframes and all of that. However, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I did find it to be a bit repetitive. I mean, how many times can you hear me drone on about how amazing the Mara Detron is, how much I love the Hema, and how Loki is never going to be replaced as my favorite Warframe? So I figured that I would go ahead and switch things up for you guys. However, if you guys really want to go ahead and bring those lists back, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll go ahead and, rehash some stuff for you guys. Regardless, this year I thought that I would change things up and focus on the things that Warframe did really, really well this year, as well as things that Warframe didn't do quite well on. So I'm giving you guys a little bit of a buffer video. This is the happy video. There might be another video that ends up coming out that isn't as happy. Just putting that out there into the universe. So today, we're going to take a look at the things that I think Warframe did really well. Originally, this was going to be a list, and I was going to point out some weapons that I liked, and I was like, it's a little bit petty when we look at the grand scheme of things. So let's start things off with an honorary mention. So the one thing that I think that DE did amazingly well this year is the Kubro set mod. So if those of you guys aren't quite familiar out there, there is the mecha set mod that is made specifically for Kubros, and what ends up happening is the Kubros will go ahead and mark an enemy, and then what you can do via the set mod is you can actually go ahead and spread all statuses on that enemy once you kill it to every other enemy in I think it's 25 or 30 meters, something along those lines. It's absolutely nutso, and it really put Kubros back on the map, especially for status heavy Warframes. Or, if you've got a setup that really spread like the Baza, oh my god, it's crazy with something like the Baza, or anything that's just really, really good at spreading statuses. So for me, that really blew my mind. Now, the reason this didn't formally make it on the list is because of the fact that it's not like a full Pets 2.0. And if I'm going to be honest with you, I feel like Kubros deserve a full-on Pets 2.0, and that includes some other things as well, kind of like Sentinels need a little bit more love, certain breeds need a little bit more love. We would love to see an expansion with Kavats because we've only got 2 there, maybe a different variation of a helmet, maybe a helmet Kavat. That would be absolutely dope, and those are things that I'd really like to see them dive into. But the Kubro set mods, the mecha mods, are definitely a step in the right direction. Alright, so now that we've cleared out the honorary mention, let's go ahead and jump in to what comes in as number 5 on the things that I think that Warframe did right this year. The first one being the Endless Kuva Survival. Now, I'm not gonna talk too much trash about some of the other game modes that are currently out there, but if I'm gonna be honest with you, Endless Kuva Survival is the only game mode that is currently really thriving and surviving, at least on my radar, and there are a couple big reasons for that. The other game modes that have been put out this year really have not received any supplemental support, meaning once you've got all of the rewards for those game modes, you don't really need to go back. You're done. There's nothing that you need to go back for. However, Kuva Survival is absolutely fantastic for the fact that it combines a really, really popular game mode, which of course is survival, and then it combines in another resource that we're continuously needing. And that's the thing that really is missing from the other game modes. See, when we take a look at Rivens, it's something that's continuously fueled, right? Warframe brings out new weapons. Well, more Rivens come out for them, right? Warframe makes some new primes. Well, more Rivens come out with them, all right? Like a new mod set comes out and changes the way that a weapon works. Oh, well, you can use a Riven to support that. So it's constantly this influx of Rivens and the things you want to do with Rivens. So how do you roll those Rivens? Well, of course, you're going to need Kuva. So people on the market want it so that they can reroll Rivens into something really, really good. Just standard players want it so that they can take care of their Rivens. And people who just fall in love with specific weapons, they're all going in for this Kuva. So the thing about it is this mode, while it might not necessarily be the most efficient way to gain Kuva, and I'll actually go ahead and leave a link up in the corner that'll go through kind of like the Kuva earnings and what is the best way to get Kuva really, really quickly. But it's a really, really good mode to just turn your brain off, kill a whole bunch of things, and get Kuva at the same time. And I think that it's absolutely fantastic. So that was definitely a win. Now, Number 5, we're gonna move on to number 4. This is Moddable exalted weapons. Oh my dear lord, sweet baby Jesus, this was absolutely a win. And the thing about it is, for those of you guys who have fallen in love with the frame with an exalted weapon, the challenge was to find a melee weapon that like jived with the stats of the exalted weapon, so that you could kind of like, you know, do a crossover just in case maybe you didn't want to use the exalted per se, and you just want to use the norm one, so that way they wouldn't impede with each other. And it was always this really like irritating challenge of trying to make that work. Sometimes you found great ones and sometimes you didn't quite so much. So now having like its own modded weapon is like, okay, number 1, we never got to see stats before. Now that it has its own modded weapon slot, you can take a look at the stats. You can go ahead and say, oh, okay, well, I didn't realize that, you know, this had this percentage. Well, if we use these mods in there, absolutely fantastic. At the same time, too, you don't have any question as to what mods do and don't work on exalted weapons, because, you know, when it came down to it, whenever a new frame is released or a new exalted frame is released, there's always like this period of testing where you're like in the simulacrum just slashing or shooting, whatever it is that you're doing. You're like, that feels like about 10%, maybe 20%, maybe it's like 15% status, or, you know, 20% crit. Like, you always sat there and you didn't quite know what was going on. And then sometimes DE would alter things and you'd be like, okay, so we can't use body count on this, but we can use drift and contact on this. You're like, there's always a lot of questions about what exactly was going on with these weapons. So being able to just have all of that information ready for you, being able to see what mods you can put in, and also just having everything not interfere with other things, giving us options, are absolutely fantastic. Now, I do have to say that some people are going to argue at the fact that, oh, now you have to forma these weapons, yada yada yada. To be completely honest with you, they really, it doesn't take forever to like go ahead and level these weapons back up. You usually want to use them with the warframes that they're equipped on, so just innately they're gonna get used. It is a little bit of a pain to get more forma for them. However, I think that in the long run it is worth it, and it was definitely a big win for me. So from number 4, we're gonna go ahead and move on to number 3. I was about to say number 2. This is where my brain's at right now, but it's really because I'm excited about this next one, and that is, this year was really the year of a reworks galore. Like, every time you saw like the mention of a prime, like, ooh, a prime's coming out, they're probably gonna rework it. Ooh, there's a deluxe skin come out, maybe they're gonna rework it. Like, everything was just like rework, and maybe some of them weren't full-on rework, some of them were tweaks, but legitimately we got some really great ones this year, including one absolutely garbage queen one. Just saying, I haven't forgot everything, okay? Haven't forgot everything, but there were still some strong wins in this category. Specifically, one of my favorites was the Nezha rework. Oh my god. This boy is now officially best boy. He's like best boy and then some. We love it. You know, he's got his chakrams, which now are actually a thing. Now you want to use the chakrams. The chakrams before, you're like, not really too much, but they debuff enemies so they take extra damage. Enemies hit with them can drop health orbs. Enemies killed by them can drop energy orbs, something along those lines. There is energy and health orbs galore that's going on over there. And then when he goes ahead and uses his divine spears, like, they'll replicate themselves into them. I was like, what is even happening? It is so good. I absolutely loved it. And then of course Firewalker was no longer a channeling ability. Like, you could just turn it on and then you could go around and you could benefit from like regeneration effects. I'm just like, this is good. I'm happy. Life is great, but we're not even done there. We actually had the Limbo rework, which was fantastic too. Stasis did not affect allied projectiles. Like, they're like taken away at all of the trolling that is happening with Limbo. I mean, there's still some trolling, but it's not like crazy levels of trolling. Limbo just really became one of the big go-tos for defense. You're like, you're not allowed to play, okay, enemies? I'm just gonna have you stop. You're gonna chill out. My friends and family are gonna go take you down. It's just gonna be an all-around good time. So for me, I was super happy to see that. And you were able to pick things up in the void. I mean, it's such a simple little thing when you put down your cataclysm, right? That was awesome. And then, of course, the last one. And I have a list of notes here for you guys. But Saren's rework, my only list is she's disgusting. The Saren rework was absolutely like first she got reworked, and because she was like too strong, then she got insanely strong, and then they were like, we're gonna dial her back a bit, but she's still powerful as all fuck. So it's like everything that they did with Saren, she's just like a goddess when it comes to like heavily clustered enemy factions, and being able to strip off armor, it like made for a really interesting change in group composition, so people weren't forced into using corrosive projection. She was like another solution to that. Now you can mod your weapons to bypass enemy armor. You can put on corrosive projection to strip off enemy armor as a team, or you could just have a Saren and she could just strip everything down for it, because Saren's the queen of the strip. Yes! So for me, this really was reworks year, even though they do have one garbage stain across what was a fairly good, like it was majority positive. So I'm gonna say definite big wins there. So now we're moving from number 3 territory. It would have been higher on the list if there wasn't a garbage, unusable bullshit rework in there. Some people are triggered. But at number 2, we have Weapons 2.0. Warframes were not the only thing that got reworked this year. And let me tell you, as soon as the Weapons 2.0 hotfix dropped, you just had a list of weapon buffs that, as I was reading it, and it was crazy because it was definitely a moment of remembrance for me this year. Is as I was reading the list, I just got so freaking excited, and y'all, as you're watching that video, got super excited with me. We were like, oh my god, our weapons are actually usable. We got the Cernos Prime buff. Remember when that was a garbage fire, and now it's got all kinds of beautiful status? That was just juicy. Hema didn't really need a buff, but it got a buff. Thank you. Vectus Prime buff, hashtag Team Vectus Prime Life, always and forever. Then we had the Mara Detron buff. They just came from my soul, and they really threw it out there when they tossed down the Lado Prime buff. I was like, all right, I see you. I know, it's not gonna stop me from making the DE doesn't care about their veterans comments, but I see you, DE, in that Lado Prime buff. I'm into it. But it did not even stop there. It just got better and better and better because they followed that up with the beam weapon rework, and they got rid of status per second. Do you guys remember? That's a veteran question. Remember back in my days, we had status per second. We don't have that anymore. We don't have to deal with that bullshittery. We obviously now are in a much better place when it comes to beam weapons. I mean, come on. Cyanoid Gamma Core! Cyanoid motherfucking Gamma Core! Y'all are back on that, the Quanta Vandal buff, like my soul. Like, I know there's some Ignis Wraith mains out there, but Quanta Vandal and Cyanoid Gamma Core were like my goats, and they became the Billies of this moment. Oh, Billies are bombards, so maybe not the Billies, but the goats. The other, man, that one. So, for me, Weapons 2.0 really, really shined. And I know that it kind of, the downside, and it almost feels like every single time I'm talking about like a positive of the things that they've done with their Warframes, there's always kind of like a negative aspect to it. So, I mean, let's be real with the negative aspect. They spent a lot of time rebalancing these weapons, and the great thing about that I love is now mastery rank kind of means something, and each weapon, their damage output or their usability falls within a specific part in the mastery rank listing. You know, mastery rank wasn't just this, well, it used to be this whole just random numeric thing, like, oh, we're gonna put this at mastery rank 14. We're gonna put this at mastery rank 6. None of it made sense, but now there's like numerical values as to where these weapons fall on the mastery rank list and their efficacy. Love that, but we do know that it took up a chunk of their year, which did kind of lead to the content drought. I'm not sure if this was the direct cause of the content drought, but I could tell that there was a lot of work put into this. So a part of me is like, yay for weapons, yay for fixing them, but another part of me is like, I know how much time that took, so you know, I'm still gonna leave it as your number 2 win. There is, however, one thing that was greater than all of these, combined. I almost want to say combined, but I don't want to say combined because it's really pushing it. The number one thing that I think Warframe absolutely won it with this year, this is the ultimate win. Their art team is on fucking fire. There is nobody that can deny any of that. I don't give a shit what y'all have to say about the first 4 on this list, but nobody can take it away from the DE art team this year. They motherfucking massacred it. The deluxe skins, we got the Nidus skin with the helmet charger skin. What? I mean, of course, that was a collaboration with Liger Zanuka. We love you, Volkavia. Give you lots of big hugs. But you know what? The thing about it is trying to translate that, the visuals that he was presenting, the looks, and they brought it into the game and made it fashion. They brought it to life. I was like, oh my God, DE, your art team, I don't even understand. And then they went ahead and showed off the Neja deluxe, and I was like, you're not gonna, what are you talking? You're not gonna make that happen. And then they did, and I was like, oh my God, Skyers, how did you make this so beautiful and wonderful and actually like translate into the game? It was so good. You cannot tell me for 1 second that Neja is not living his best life this year. 2018 was great for Neja. It was Neja's year. He got a rework, he got a new skin, he's feeling himself. So you can't say that the art team wasn't doing it, especially when you see things like the Vauban skin, the Mesa Presidio skin came out, the Inaros Ramsey skin. Come on, we have Gundam Inaros, and you ain't happy about that. You gotta be happy about that. And then take a look at the primes that have been released in 2018. I was just like, come on. I have to give it up to Chroma. Chroma Prime looked really good. Like Limbo Prime was absolutely fantastic. Like they're just getting better. Zephyr Prime, what? Zephyr Prime was amazing as well. And then we closed out the year with Mesa Prime. Whew, what? My soul. It's all amazing and beautiful and wonderful. I'm just telling you right now that like the Warframe art team was absolutely the crowning achievement of this year. They absolutely killed it, from like coming out with Korra and Venari. Like everything that they were doing was so on point, except for a couple of the floppy Sandanas. I see you. Listen, I'm still gonna tell you how it is, but to counteract that, their operator fashion, from the weird fucked up Sita stuff to the stuff that they have in Fortuna now, to like the operator face armor that came with Mesa Prime, like everything the art team is doing, that was fire. That was absolutely on fire, and they absolutely blew me away in 2018. So what I need from you guys right now is go ahead and let me know how you feel about all of this in the comments down below. Let me know, do you agree? What was your number one thing that Warframe did right this year? And listen, I know that there are going to be some of you that want to jump into, this is what they did wrong. Save it for the next video. There will be another video. Don't worry, we will be addressing the losses that happened. We can press F to pay respects in that video though. We're going to keep this one positive, and we're going to look at the good things that happened. So let me know what it is that you love that DE did in 2018. Let me know if you want to go ahead and bring back the favorite primary, secondary Warframe things. Is that something that you guys do want to see, or is that just stale? Let me know if it's stale, because I mean, you know, we got to move forward here. This is a new year. We're trying to bring 2019 energy out. Regardless, that about does it for me for now. And as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch your body. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.